Alrighties, welcome everyone to She's of Love. I'm still not used to saying
Yeah,
that. It
yeah,
still sounds different.
yeah.
But today I am so excited. We are so excited. We're so excited that we're awake at 2:30 in the morning to do this.
Speak for yourself.
Yes. So we could talk with you guys and I don't know if you haven't seen our last live with Baz and Priska, please, or Bas and Priska. We discussed this last time.
Yeah,
Bas.
because in Australia,
Yeah.
that's how we pronounce
Sorry. Yeah.
it.
Bas and Priska. It was an incredible episode, and I
Mm,
really mean this. It was one of my favorite ones that I've ever recorded or went live with. It was just I learned and received so much from you guys. So I'm really honored to have you on again. Yes, today's topic is a big one, and it's around living life from love and how to begin living life from love, where to start and kind of the journey that it takes you on because it's a big one and it's a big journey. So I would guess I should begin by asking you guys, how did your journey start of living from the heart and living from love?
Would you like to start? So let me think. I think in the beginning, when I wasn't aware of any kind of, this whole spiritual world, because I didn't grow up with spirituality. It was not something that was really present in my life. So I think I just thought that love was about, romantic love. You
yeah.
fall in love with somebody, or you maybe love your parents or your pets or your friends, this kind of love.
Mm.
But I never understood this concept of, like like consciously living your life from love and not closing your heart when things get difficult. And I think, well, it has been really a challenging journey for me because I have been dealing with a lot of fears in my life. Had all kind of panic attacks, and we know like fear is everything else. An open heart is like everything is closed down, and we're
Yeah.
really shrinking. And I can really see whenever I'm having these kind of moments when I go too much in my head that I kind of just start to think too much, worry too much, and just go overdrive in my head that my heart is just closing down. And it really is for me still up till this day. It's really a conscious decision that I then make. Okay, Priska, no, you're again in your head, you're closed down, you're in fear. How can I open up this heart? And sometimes it even hurts physically when I'm too closed. And it really, like, I realize that currently in an education for becoming a priestess, like in a priestess initiation school. And we're currently in the archetype of love, like the goddess of love. And I really felt this really physically how my heart was really like closed at the beginning of the call, and how it was opening when I really was like allowing everything to be there, not trying to like some parts of myself, or just embracing some parts of who I am and kind of pushing the others away. For example, the parts that are fearful, the parts that are worrying, but really embracing them too. How this really opens everything up, and how I can really feel, yeah, my heart and my just a connection to the divine within myself and around me again. And I think it's just such a fascinating and ongoing journey because
Mm.
yeah, I'm still on my path. I
Yeah.
haven't mastered it yet. I really haven't. It's easier for me to be from heart to heart, like open in a conversation when I'm with somebody, but when I'm with myself, when it's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
when I'm in worry state, when things
Yeah.
come in, and I just try to fix things, that's when things get sometimes dark, and then I get like closed up. When I'm with boss, when I'm talking with the kids, or when I'm with my pets or other friends or people like you, I have no issues keeping my heart open. But yeah, when I'm in fear, that's when shit happens.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so relate to that.
I
When
agree.
I'm on my own, that's when all the darkness comes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I sometimes speed myself up for it. I can still see that it's getting better and better. That I think, oh, why am I doing this again? And you don't have your heart open, but this doesn't help neither, right? It's really about just being so compassionate when we're going there and seeing, okay, it's happening, it's okay. and also embracing my inner child, because that has a lot to do with inner child work for me especially, and to just see, okay, it's okay to be there too. It's part of being human, and to just really relax into whatever is there so that you can breathe out again and yeah, open up again.
Yeah, I think it's you mentioned one of the biggest spiritual conundrums that so many of us face, where you recognize and you're aware of having your heart closed, but and then you get angry, and
Mm-hmm.
then it just creates more of a spiral, and it's, you know, it creates more discomfort than being open. It closes you off even more when you're angry that you're closed off. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know I face that a lot. Like, I don't know, I just get caught in the spiral of, oh, my heart is closed, I feel, and I'm aware of that. And that makes me angry, and then it makes it even more closed, and then I just
Yeah.
feel like I'm trapped there. Like, it's really hard to get out of that cycle when there's so much strong emotion there, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
What
definitely
I
do that
realized that, oh,
too.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing that I do that too. Like it is like this, it's like a catch 22 when you're in that
Yeah.
spiral. It's like, it's counterproductive when you start to feel frustration at yourself for going
Mm-hmm.
down that road again, when what you're trying to do is change that direction.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it really like helped. For example, if I close off and then I get angry or, disappointed, that's the place I often go like, are you there again? Are you still not getting it? This kind of, I should be further, I should be, I don't even know.
yes.
This kind of notion of I'm a teacher, I should not have this, blah, blah, blah. Then to also embrace that part, to say, okay, here we go. This is the part, who is judging, the part who is just not there where I want it to be. And I think the more we can really, sometimes it goes like even further, like the place, like even in one step further, that you're sad and angry and you have to just embrace it all to really get again to just relaxing into being
Yeah.
wherever you're at and not trying to
Mm.
change it at the moment. And I guess this is actually the magical thing when you are relaxing into it, and if you can embrace all these parts, then all of a sudden there's no more need to close off, because then you're like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah.
safe for me to be angry, it's safe for
Yeah.
me to be like a little child right now, it's okay, I don't have to be
Yeah.
anything
Mm.
different than where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess as a teacher, you have value in experiencing those feelings and that experience when because you're going to have students or you're going to have people that come to you who are experiencing it. And if you've never had that experience in your life, how do you connect with someone
Mm.
who's going through it? Like, you need to
Mm,
have that
Yeah.
in your
Mm.
mm,
repertoire, kind of, if
mhm.
you know what I mean,
Mm.
Yeah,
to be able to speak to that and to understand and have compassion for others who are
mm,
Yeah.
experiencing it too.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Yeah, it's a
And
humbling process, because sometimes I think, the more or the deeper I go into this work, the more old stuff gets comes back up, where I thought, oh, before, and when I was kind of in this perfect world that I've created for myself, when I didn't get too vulnerable, it was so much easier.
Mm,
mm.
Whereas now, where I really have committed to do the work, no matter how many times I have to do it and look at it again, it's just a
Yeah.
humbling process to see, you know what, it's okay to be in that process, and we're all in it. It's like
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
all, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean that I'm not also a student at the same time. We're all
Mm.
Yes.
students at the same time, and that's totally fine, that we're there. We don't have to be on a pedestal or have everything figured out in order to have something valuable to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. I had
Wise words.
yeah. I'm actually gonna clip that right there. That's going on some social media right there. That was amazing. I had a big moment like that today, because before work, I don't know, I think it's just hard for me sometimes, regularly putting myself in a environment that isn't
Mm,
at a frequency that I usually put myself in. Like, as you can see behind me, this is my room. This is one wall of my room. I try and create as much positivity, as much fun in my life, creativity.
Mm.
I make my life as high vibrational as I possibly can every single day. That's a commitment that I give to myself. And working in this current job, it's it definitely adds a lot of value to my life. That's why I'm there, because I mean, money is a thing in this world, and it creates a lot of magical things, and that's why I want money to create magical things in my life. I'm not there for a reason of survival,
Mm-hmm.
but it still is very challenging entering a space that is so
Yeah.
different from my own, and having to create a environment in my own energetic bubble that is still elevated compared to the place around me. And going to work every day, I really struggle, and there's always patterns that come up, there's always belief systems that come up, and it just repeats all the time, like how you were saying that those like, I don't know, I just kind of add a story to it, and I kind
Mm.
of judge myself for going through the same pattern, through the same beliefs. And I
Yeah.
don't allow much space for growth or for learning or for self compassion, because it's like, oh, here I am again in the same
Yeah.
place with the same feelings. And, you get stuck in the story so easily. And really, I think what I received today was, instead of listening to the story that these feelings and my mind was telling me that I always listen to, usually, today I decided to like be an observer as much as I possibly could, which was definitely a challenge because it's still such a strong emotional trigger. Like these patterns that keep coming up, it's around, you know, self image and being around people that are very judgmental and
And surface
and
level.
surface level. And
Yeah.
I love these people. There's nothing against these people, but that again, not holding the same frequency that I usually do.
Yeah.
So, I face a lot of judgment around how I dress and how I arrive and show myself to work. Like, just to give some funny context to this, I was talking with one of my coworkers, and he was saying that he thinks I look homeless when I come
Homeless.
to work, which
When did he say
he
this?
was okay. Let's just say he had a few drinks.
Who was it?
His name's Tommy. I don't know
Right.
if you met
Yes,
him.
you've spoken
Yeah.
about him.
Anyway, so he told me that I come to work looking homeless, and
Oh my God.
by the way, I know in every fiber of my being that it's not true, because I put a lot of effort into, like, I don't know, I enjoy dressing up, and I enjoy, it's like part of my routine going to work. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that I don't
Mm,
own his words. But
mm.
just to give some context, that's the kind of judgment that I'm getting
Wow.
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day when I come to work. And it's all love and jokes for them, but it still hits
Yeah,
a
I
little
get it.
bit.
Were
So
you shocked?
I was a little
Yeah.
because, like, I don't know, it's just so far from my truth that
Yeah.
hearing his perspective, it was like, what do you mean? Anyway, he's totally projecting. That's what it was. Anyway, so to get back to my original point, um, yeah, it was just like I was getting in this pattern of self-image and negative self-esteem and that sort of thing, and just kind of in that pattern of like, here I am having to face the judgment again. And it was only once I'd finished work, finished my shift, and I'd spent most of my shift fighting through these feelings and just trying to not own them or believe the story that they were telling me. It was only after my shift that I realized how incorrect it was, because it was one of my best shifts tonight. Everyone was so
Mm.
lovely, and I realized the real value in showing up authentically. Like how I could tell that people really cared for me at work. I was really struggling today. Let's just
What,
put that.
tired wise?
No, so again, another story time
Oh no,
within a
here we go
story.
again.
I'll make it quick because I was trying to make a quick point, but it's turned into this thing. So I'm sorry, but um yeah, I was very emotional because I've begun hormone therapy, and so I was just very emotional at work. I was like, there was a
Mm.
moment of tears, and I'll
Mm.
get more into that later on in this conversation, but basically I was crying.
Mhm.
And everyone was so supportive. Everyone was so there for me, and
Yeah.
it was just like a real beautiful moment. And I realized that if I was anyone other than who I am, I wouldn't be getting that reaction from people. People wouldn't be looking out for me the way that they did, because honestly, I for an hour people were making sure that I was okay, and
Mm.
providing a lot of space for me, and making sure that I was well looked after, and I had space to go to the bathroom and cry my eyes out and then come back. And, there was a lot of
And it's not
space.
like you either, Juliet,
No,
to
it's not like me
it's
to
not
cry.
like her to just burst
Mm.
into tears.
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't know, but it really made me see that if I wasn't who I am, if I wasn't showing up as myself every day, then I probably wouldn't have gotten that reaction, because that's
Because you're
kind
real.
yeah, because and that's what I would do for someone else as well. That's what
Yeah.
you know that's what we do for each other
So
in
they're
that
matching
workplace.
your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, it was a big lesson in, like, okay, these people might not be at the same vibration. They might not see life the same way. And that's not a thing of ego. That's just how it
Mm.
is.
Mm.
And but we can still get along. We still have each other's backs, and we
And you
Yeah.
still
care about each
care
other.
about each other.
Yeah.
And that's really
Yeah.
what matters. And that's what I think that's what love is. I think that's living life in love.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big lesson. And sorry, that was a very long-winded
It doesn't matter.
story.
I think you need your own podcast, the
The,
bartending chronicles or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I
I
could
like I think it's so important. It's
Hey,
really good,
that's a good idea, Priska. I think
right?
that's a great idea.
Because you will see a lot of things, doing that job, and you
Yeah.
will learn
Definitely.
so much. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely already on that journey for sure. So, what about you, Bas? What was your journey into living life in love? How did you begin?
It has been a very long journey, and it's still an ongoing one.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of the hardest things actually in the world to fully
Mm.
live from love.
Yeah.
Of course, like there are moments where I'm able to partially do it, where I feel okay, it's flowing, and mostly when it comes to giving love, that's easier for me, but receiving love is
Mm.
still a thing. I'm not very easy in receiving that. As an example, I have done in the beginning of this year, I have done a men's program. I have been leading a men's program, and it was the most beautiful experience in the world. And in the end, but also during the program, there were so many beautiful sharings, and I also got so many beautiful compliments, how I was there and how I held the space and how I guided
The shepherd, they called
the
him.
shepherd they call it. But really could not receive it. I could hear it, and I could think, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, I'm good in
Yeah.
my job. But really receiving the love that I got from the brothers was so incredibly hard. And then I also started thinking about it. And for me, when I look back, it's really about um, not being able to tap into that source of self-love or self-worth.
Yeah.
And I think if you are not able to do that, then it makes it harder to really live from love.
Mm.
Like I have been brought up in an environment where it was not common to share compliments or to say I love you, or um, and I already shared it last time, but it's also a little bit connected to this one. I have been brought up by my mother, who
Yeah.
was a feminist and also came out of the closet as being a lesbian. And the general message actually was that she didn't like men.
Mm.
and I was a boy, right? I was growing up, becoming a man. So I never felt enough, and this really has put a big stamp on my forehead, which still, and I'm able to tap into it, like when I'm with Priska and when I'm with the kids, and also in moments where I'm in deep meditation or I'm very much connected, then I all of a sudden can feel it, and then
Mm.
it's like boom, something happens, and often there's also emotion involved, and I get tears in my eyes. So I know the feeling, and still it's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
And for me, it really helped to start doing more men's work and start doing more inner work, shadow work, inner child work. Um, and now I fully agree with Priska said that it's easier to choose for it.
Mhm.
Also,
Yeah.
when we are in a conflict, like my go-to is to throw my heart close and withdraw and go away. But with Priska, I really learned to never go away. I always stay, even though it hurts, even though I don't know what she means, even though I don't know what to say,
You want to strangle me?
even if I want to kick her face in. I always stay, and then this helps me majorly to also at one point be able to open my heart again towards her, but also towards myself. First and foremost towards myself, and when I'm able to do that, it automatically also is able to go open to her again.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I really believe it's a choice, and I really believe it's very much bound to how much can you receive it.
Mm.
Yes.
Because I really think if you cannot receive it, the heart will not go open. Even if you want
Yes.
Mm.
it, even if you try to force it, not so much is going to happen there.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, do you think that your ability to receive is proportionate to how much you think you deserve it? That self worth. So, if you feel like you don't deserve it, then you're not going to accept it. Is that how it
Well,
works, do you think?
that was definitely how it was, but now it's not really that anymore because when I'm on my own, I don't know, I look in the mirror or I see the work that I do. I actually think I'm doing a pretty good job, and I also like myself. And whenever I do something, I'm really proud of myself, and I really can feel that connection towards myself. And still, the real receiving is hard, and
Yeah, it really
I've
is.
thought about it and I've tried to put my finger on what it exactly is, and up till now, I haven't come up with
Mhm.
the satisfying answer yet.
Mm.
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 Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
like it's till a certain point. I know that from myself. Till a certain point, and then you feel like that there's room for more, but
Mm.
it
Yeah.
doesn't really get there. It doesn't really get to this sweet spot of fully receiving it.
Yeah.
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 It almost feels also physically, also what you a little bit describe, is that then I feel my heart is going open, and it's open, and it starts flowing, and still behind the heart, I don't know another way to describe it, is this, um, how should I describe that? Like as if something is on it, like something is pushing on it. It's not
Mm.
Suppressing
able
it.
to, yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
it
Mm.
could be more expansive, but it's not able to fully stretch open. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
That sounds like fear. The suppression is maybe a little bit of fear of
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Mm,
greatness of it.
It's
It's like
yeah.
the overflowing. What do I do if there's so much and I can't contain it?
Mhm.
I can't hold it. I can't, you
yeah.
know.
Also, I think the fear for me when you were saying fear, the fear that I think of is like I don't want to experience the limit because then it won't get any better. Like
Right.
I
Good
don't
point.
That's a
want
good one.
to yeah, I don't want to get to the best place ever because then there's what's after that, you know?
Yeah, right.
Good
You
point.
know, and
It's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
But
Yeah.
with
yeah.
me, it also has to do because I'm just in general so incredibly sensitive to anything and everything, weather, people, energies. It's just sometimes so, it really is something that I'm struggling with accepting on myself because I think, oh,
Mm.
can I just be a bit lesser sensitive? But I think also with fully receiving has also to do with being fully open and knowing when you're fully open, you will also receive all the other things around you even more deeply. And I think this is also a part of me where I'm sometimes struggling to fully
Yeah.
fully open up because I just yeah there is fear absolutely of everything else that will come up or bubble up because
Mm.
there's always both, right? There's always both.
It's duality,
Yes.
really. Yeah. And what I also notice with myself now we talk about it is that it's also connected to I cannot say that's for every guy, but for me, it's definitely also connected to that on a deep level. And also, I think, and I believe because it's actually also stored in my DNA, even though I have been brought up in a different way, is that it's for me, it's also about protection and provision and holding the space. And still, and I know I'm a sensitive man, I'm an emotional man. You can ask Priska, like I can see something on the TV and I already cry.
Yeah.
But there is also this, still this belief or this cellular
Idea.
idea that I have to be strong for some reason.
Mm.
And
So is it too
the
sorry.
moment that I can really receive, then, for example, if Priska puts her hand on my heart and really looks in my eyes or in my soul and says, you know, I love you. And then it breaks open, and then 9 out of 10 times I also start crying and
So is it can it also be that it's then too vulnerable to receive that because then people really see you
Mm.
and you don't want to see let them see all the that parts that might be still there?
maybe with some people, but with you, I don't have the feeling,
No.
but because I don't care how you see me actually. So yeah,
So
it's
is
a
that because
conundrum.
you trust that whatever she sees, she will still love you? You
Hmm.
trust?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
definitely. Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, wow.
yeah.
What you were saying before, Priska, about how you're so sensitive
Mm.
that, yeah, okay, the good stuff feels better than maybe a lot of other people, but the negative or the harder, darker things also feel a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I really relate to that, and I was thinking about that today because one thing on my journey right now is around divine feminine and you know entering womanhood and like
Mm.
becoming an adult and kind of like really the biggest focus right now is like around becoming my goddess embodied self, you know.
Is he
um
right?
and
Love it.
and yeah, so as I mentioned before, I begun hormone therapy because I have completely I've learnt that I've completely blocked my hormones from producing in my body, and I'm think now that it's kind of around my well, I know it's around my femininity and owning my femininity, and a big part of that I think is my sensitivity as well,
Mm.
Mm.
and around emotions and feelings and things, because yeah, I'm very sensitive even without all the hormones. I'm very sensitive. So I think part of me knew that it would be very, very overwhelming having a lot of hormones. And again, there's a lot more to it than that, but
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm.
one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons. And
Oh, as that's why you block
what
them?
why I've
Yeah.
subconsciously blocked them because I basically like I was fine for a bit, everything was going well, and then all of a sudden through anxiety and stress and fear I blocked it all, and
Mm.
ever since it's never been the same, and now it got to a point where I had to like see doctors, and because I was trying with like embodiment techniques and things like because my best choice that I wanted to do for the longest time and that I was really trying to do was like through my own embodiment and spiritual practices, but
Yes.
it
Yeah.
just wasn't getting me where I needed to go. So I turned to the Western medicine, and so far it's gotten me the furthest I've gotten.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, so I'm taking some hormone. hormones, like hormone therapy. And it's only been like I've only done it like 4 times now. I'm very new
Yeah, it's only
to
new.
it's very new,
Mm.
but already I'm seeing subtle changes as it's, happening. And today I was crying at work, like I mentioned. And yeah, it's what I really received is like how I never realized, like, we always talk about how women are so sensitive and so feeling, and like emotion is a very feminine thing. And again, not saying that men don't
Mm.
have that. It's like within all of us, um, it's the feminine part of all
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was something that I think I shut off a lot, because even when I shut off from it, it was still so much. And
Mm.
today, like, I was crying at work, and I'm like, man, this is a lot, but also I understand the beauty in it, I think. And
Mm,
I would rather be here crying at work than not, and feeling things than
Mm.
not feeling anything, and
Yeah.
just kind of going through life numb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's there's a really big thing in owning and feeling emotions. It's really, really hard. And I had a new perspective and honor for humans in general, and why we kind of shut off so easily from emotion, and how
yeah.
big a deal it is to actually just sit with emotion and be in it. Because like it was so uncomfortable being at work
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get it.
It's not
Yeah,
fun.
it's not, no, but it is a big part of being a woman. I know it is, because not only do you have to deal with emotion, you also have to deal with sometimes getting judgment from
Yeah.
others around
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's, like, oh, you're being irrational, or stop being so over dramatic. And so much is thrown at people for feeling emotions. And it's the same with men don't cry, men don't, you
Mm-hmm.
know you shouldn't feel anything. Like, I mean, the way that society destroys emotion is so crazy. And I think that's a big way that we're blocking love in life,
Yes.
Mm.
because love is allowing everything. There is love in every single emotion, even fear,
Yeah.
which, is technically the polarity of love. Fear is still an aspect of love. I mean, whenever I go into fear, I recognize, I feel like there's a part of me that is protecting me from something. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's what fear is. It's saying,
Mm-hmm.
don't go there because it's scary and I don't want you to
Yep.
get hurt, and I don't know what's over there. So just don't go over there, because it loves me and it doesn't want me to get hurt. And,
Mm-hmm.
even though, okay, fear does not feel like love in any way, it still comes from love in some sense. So I think just allowing emotion is a huge part that I'm learning.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's
I
Yeah.
had
That's
I
very.
had a reading I had a reading done recently. Friend of mine, she's a psychic and she teaches other people to bring out that psychic side of them.
Mm.
And so I was a sitter. It's called a sitter. So I was like their little guinea pig, and they read me.
Uh-huh.
And the girl who read me, oh my goodness, she was so talented. And she basically told me that I need to get okay with showing my shadow and my dark side. I need
Mm-hmm.
to be
Mm.
a lot more open, and if I lose control,
Mm-hmm.
because of course, controlling your emotions is
Yeah.
everything in society.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you need to allow your real feelings out, and you need to let your family see them.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
You need to allow them to see the real you. And if you're stressed, um, show them that you're stressed. If you're angry, show them that you're angry, and be okay with that. It's being okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that was so confronting for me, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually always so much in control of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes from years of my job I used to be a flight attendant and used to have to come to work and put a smile on your face,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
problems were, left at the door when you came
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
And I got really good at that. I
Mhm.
got really, really good at putting on the mask. And I never wanted my kids to see that side of me because I didn't want to scare them. I didn't want it to be,
Mm.
um, uh, a burden on them, or I
Mhm.
didn't want them to feel um, that they'd lost respect for me in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that has been hugely confronting. And it's been good for me because it's been a release
Mhm.
of always trying to be perfect. Because
Yeah.
I think if you've got put that much pressure on yourself to show up in um, each stressful situation as the framework of everyone
Mhm.
holding it together and putting that pressure on yourself,
Mm.
love can't come through that.
No.
That's true.
It's strangling everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so being messy and letting your family see you in that mess as a messy person, I think is part of it.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, Baz, you trust Priska to see you in that way and still accept you for who you are. And I never trusted. I didn't trust in that way. So
Mm.
learning how to do it now and kind of coming out of my shell in that way, I think is important to
Mhm.
for
Very.
that love to grow
Mm.
and that trust, because it's like you're touching the boundaries of your relationship. You're pushing them and you're seeing how far you can go, and
Yeah.
if
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the people around you are able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 100%
It's
understand that.
true.
That is
Yeah.
also exactly the feeling I had when I first got in a relationship with Bus, when he was like, I love all of you, and there's nothing that would scare me away. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know me. if you really knew me, you wouldn't say that shit. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it was not a conscious testing, but I did
No.
test him. 100%
Yes.
tested him to see, is he really the man he
Claims to
tells me, or
be.
yeah, claims to be. Exactly, is he really going to stay? And I brought my everything, and I really really pushed it, not that I blew it up, but I really just was like, okay, I'm just pulling it all down, and just here, this is me, fucking
Yeah.
mess, don't even know myself, I feel ashamed about this, and even this shame I'm putting in front of your feet, not that you have to solve it, I had this awareness, but just, can you handle this? And he goes like, "Was this
Yes.
everything?" I'm like, "Oh, okay," because I thought it's like it was so scary. So I fully understand you when you're doing this with your whole family.
Mm.
And I don't even know if I'm quite honest with my family, but my family hasn't seen my all. You know,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't think I would have. I
Mm,
probably wouldn't have taken this road if I didn't have that reading. It
Mm.
mm,
brought it to the front and it allowed me to look at it and
mm,
to see that this was an important step in my
mm,
relationship with them.
Yeah.
mm.
And it's not like I'm going crazy and shooting up the house or nothing like that. Like we're not talking about that stuff.
Full Kali mode.
It's more along the lines of, I think, showing okay, that's not all right. Like that's my
Yeah,
boundary here.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
and
yeah,
and you're overstepping it and speaking up for myself
yeah. Love it.
and being
That's
real.
that's a major step into self-love
And into
Yeah.
and
intimacy.
to intimacy. And
Yeah.
if you are able to
Yes.
do that for yourself, then you will also do that for other people,
Mm-hmm.
and they will
Yes.
feel that they can also show these parts with you.
Yes, exactly the point.
Yeah.
When you're showing up in that brave way, you're
Mm-hmm.
showing the people that you love that it's okay, you can handle it as well. Like I'm
Yeah.
here in this darkness and I'll show up if
Yeah.
I'm showing up in the darkness for myself, I can show up in the darkness for you too.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, and it's something that has been very, um, strangled. I've really strangled it and not allowed it to have a voice in my life, and really not
Mhm.
allowed it to be seen by anyone, because I didn't trust that people would be able to handle me
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that way. And
Mm-hmm.
but now it's kind of like started to leak out, and it feels good for me to finally stop being afraid of it.
Yeah.
Mm,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
The freedom, eh?
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
The freedom and also the self-love that comes with that, to know, you know what, I'm okay. And I think the funny thing is we all have that part, right? This
Yes.
fear of showing up. And if we just all were, you know, brave enough to show our boundaries, to show what we truly want, to show our true desires, how would the world be
Mm.
different?
So true.
And at the same time,
Yes.
mm,
owning our emotions. It's not
Yeah.
about, here, bleh, is my shit, like do something with it. But it's like, okay, this is me. You don't have to do, it's not your responsibility, but that's how I am right now.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not okay. I'm not okay with
I'm not
this.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's also so important to show these emotions more, so that you can also learn, and also the people around you, that there's not one cookie cutter
Mm-hmm.
way of how living from love should look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Yes.
was comparing, when I was in the presence of people who were very abundant in showing and expressing their love, and I was, okay, I don't do that, and maybe I do not love that hard, or and it's really about owning your way of stepping into life from an open heart and stepping into life from
Yes.
love, because you are the only one who can take ownership, but also who can express it in that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Um, and it's not about comparing. It's not about, I don't know, about putting it into some sort of a cookie cutter box so that people can recognize it is. It's really about showing up from your most authentic way, and sometimes that is a bit like this.
Mm.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like ah, and all of it, it's okay. And I really think that would also make such a difference if people would recognize the different ways in giving and receiving love from
Yeah.
ourselves, but also
Mm,
from other people.
Mm.
Yeah.
yes. I
Recognizing when somebody shows up as themselves. That's
Mm-hmm.
really
yes.
big.
And
Yep.
I something that I think is really that I received from what you were saying is like how it's so undimensional. Love is so like fluid and there's no structure to it. And I think it's interesting because we have these societal constructs of like there's five
Mm.
love languages
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's this
yeah.
way, there's gifts and affirmation and you know, and it really should be up to interpretation and creativity in how we express ourselves. You know, I agree with you a lot in what you were saying, how some people can be so out there with how they express their love, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when you're not at their like in the same field of that of you want to express it differently, or maybe you're not fully comfortable in how they're showing their love to you,
Mm,
Yeah, which is
they
very
which
common.
happens.
Yeah, it's very common.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to I don't know, it kind of feels like there's this weird thing where like how do I tell this person who's trying to give me their love that I don't want it in that way, you know? And
yeah.
it's it happens a lot. I especially with spiritual people, I think as well, like it's a big thing of trying to place those boundaries of, hey, I love your intention. I know that you're doing this with love, but right now that's not what I need, that's not what I want.
Mm,
And it's hard because you know that they've got good intention. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to be weird or whatever, but it's just not what you want right there in that
yeah,
moment.
that's so
So
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's trying to find that boundary of and placing that boundary. I know tell me if you guys agree, ladies, but sometimes even just with guys like at work, I have some guys come up to me, or I have experiences with people at work, and even just in a non-spiritual environment, trying to like place boundaries of, hey, not interested. Even that in itself is very
Bas
difficult
might
for
have
me.
some experiences of guys doing that to him
Yeah, actually, very true.
too.
Yeah, or even ladies. I know it happens as women to guys as
Mm,
well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
100%.
totally true.
Yeah.
And well, I mostly have experienced it in the spiritual world because
Yeah,
there you
right.
always have these obligatory long heart-to-heart hugs,
Yeah.
and sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't.
Mm.
And I
Well, it's
think,
the intention behind it, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's really about the intention behind it, and I can feel intention mostly very well.
Yeah.
And if I feel that it's because it belongs to the woo-woo community, then no, don't do it. But if I really feel some sort of a curiosity and also an energetic pull, like this is what I want to do now,
Yeah.
Mm.
also, it's not also then that I am always into it, but then I can open up better to it.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's really about, um, I think a big part is also about feeling if there is consent, because people
Yes.
overstep boundaries so easily when it comes to showing affection or getting a hug or giving a kiss or whatever. But it's really about tuning into, okay, is it appropriate in this moment? Do I
Mm.
Oh my
feel the other
gosh.
person is
Yes.
open to
Mm,
that?
mm.
And really pay more attention to these things. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I
Mm.
mean, it's something as simple as like, again, another story time from my bar job. There's someone who I work with, and he speaks a different language as well as English, and he sings this song to me in this different language that I don't understand. And from his facial expressions and the way that he sings it, I know the intention behind what he's singing. Um, and it's definitely not appropriate for. I
And
think
he's a
it's
lot
very.
older than you, isn't he?
I don't even want to know. I haven't asked. Um, but even just even though, okay, me saying that, there's no physical harm, there's no, you know, I understand that there's no harm in what he's doing,
Mm,
but it makes me uncomfortable.
Mm.
And,
yeah.
Which is enough.
which is enough, and just understanding, and it's very clear. I feel like I make it very clear
Yeah.
that, I'm not interested. And
Mhm.
yeah, so
Has he stopped?
yeah, but it's I don't know, it's one of those things where I work with this man. I'm in in his presence regularly. So I'm trying to figure out a way where actually it's funny because he's making me uncomfortable, and I'm trying to make a way
Yeah.
that makes him
Yeah.
comfortable
Maybe you
Yeah,
need
actually.
to
yeah.
meet
Yeah,
his.
so maybe I got to meet
Yeah.
his thing because I just noticed that in myself. But
Mm,
yeah, I've been trying to handle it in a way where I don't confront him with words. I confront him
mhm,
with my actions instead,
mhm.
like physically yeah, not
But
not
sometimes
not
that's
hitting
not
him, but
enough.
I'm talking in my like I'll ignore him when
Yeah.
like I'll flat out ignore him. Like
Yeah,
I'll
Yeah.
literally
yeah.
walk past him. Nope, not enough. Because then, maybe the next time that I see him, I'll say hello, and then that will be
Mm.
enough for him to think, "Oh, it's okay. I can start again and
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
again."
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
It's one
Yeah.
of those things. So it's what,
Yeah. You need to put a boundary
yeah,
down.
I
Really,
definitely do.
really,
That's
really.
some self love there. That
Yeah.
boundary will be some
So
self love.
yeah, I think just recognizing, and it's happened same with the heart to heart hugs in the
Mm,
in the spiritual community as well. Like I definitely agree with that, and just having a awareness to what's appropriate and how the other person feels, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I even had a moment where I was the person that was overgiving the other day. This woman came up to me in the bar and her zipper was stuck on her jacket and she was asking me for help, and I was getting quite close because it was really stuck and I couldn't get there, and it was in an awkward position and she's taller than
Mhm.
me, and I realized that after a while she was like, oh,
You
you know.
get away.
So I had to like, oh, okay. But I recognized, once I
Yeah, you
recognized, oh,
felt
okay,
it. Yeah.
maybe she's a bit like, maybe I'll take a step back and I'll let her
It's
figure
all
it out.
intention.
And yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like
It's
she
all
asked
intention.
me for help, so I wasn't
Yeah.
going up to her. And once
Yeah.
I recognized, okay, she's done, she wants to figure it out for herself, then I let go and then that was it. And, you know,
Mm.
it's just one of those things where you just can kind of, I know I can feel a lot of the time, and I know not everyone is in the same boat. We all have things
Mm-hmm.
going on, and situations happen, but yeah,
You mean
it's
noticing somebody telling you to
noticing
back
someone,
off?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of reasons why people do know that the other person is uncomfortable but still proceed.
But see, that's the
True.
thing.
Very
If
true.
they know that you're uncomfortable and they're still going, they're still proceeding, that's where this
Mm,
overstepping is.
mm,
Yeah.
And that's on the person who notices the uncomfortable situation and chooses to ignore it. Then that's on them.
yeah.
Totally.
And
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
then
If you have, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
no, and then that's that in that moment, in that instance, it's up to you then to put the boundary down and say, okay, now I see where you are overstepping. I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable with that. So I'm going to say enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
mm,
also going back to the subject, that is also not living from love.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yes.
It's living from force or living from your own personal intention without tuning into like storytelling. I was once
Mm.
at a festival, and it was a spiritual festival. And there was one guy who I already had seen a couple of times. And at one point, he was passing me, and then he turned against me. He took my head and he forced my forehead against his in this like Maori Hopi thing,
Thing.
and I literally pulled my head back, but he was holding my head. And then at one point, I literally did that,
Yeah.
and I said, "This is really not okay what you're doing." And then, of course, spiritual bypass, and I was the one with the issues, and my heart was closed, and I
Mm.
did actually not belong on this spiritual festival because I didn't feel the love for humanity and the collective and la di di la di da. And like back then I was younger, and then I really started doubting and thinking, oh, is this true? Do I belong here? Or yeah, am I not spiritual enough? Do I don't know how
Mm.
to love? But
mm,
later on, I realized this man was totally not living from love
Mm-hmm.
because he was
Yes.
not in tune with himself and therefore also not with
mm,
everything around him. And
Yeah,
yeah,
so
uh,
true. It was very selfish act.
mm-mm,
He
It
yeah,
wanted
is.
that moment and you didn't want to participate. And so his way of dealing with that was to put the blame onto you.
yeah, definitely.
And that's
And
totally making
right.
himself the victim.
True, true. And that
Yeah.
was also the moment where I don't claim that I know how it is for women when they get abused or even raped, but in that moment I could somehow feel
Yeah.
how it
yeah,
must feel for a woman to being pushed in a certain situation where she doesn't feel comfortable at all,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then blamed if you
and
say
then
no.
blame her for being a frigid cow or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I 100%
This
Yeah.
is
see.
so interesting, this conversation. Where we've come in this conversation
Yeah,
is
I don't
so
even know how we
cool.
got here.
It's
I,
so good. No, but
Yeah.
it's really good because this is talking about an aspect of love that is very nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
we
True.
we don't we don't really talk about it this
Mm,
deeply with people very often
yeah,
because we are indoctrinated with Hollywood movies and thinking
Yeah.
about love as being this romantic, fairy tale
Mm-hmm.
it's
Slow
all,
motion hair flip.
yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. So this part of love and the self-love that we're talking about in putting boundaries down, when someone is trying to use, it's like gaslighting and manipulation.
Yeah.
They're
Mm,
trying to use the spiritual side of love into
Mm-hmm.
coercing you into giving them something that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
yep.
And then that can also translate into what you were saying about men shaming women into giving them what they want. It's the same
Yeah.
energy, it's just using different words.
Yeah.
Mm, true. Yeah.
And I think this is so important to talk about because a lot of people, like you were saying, Juliet, that you want to be polite and you don't want to
I want to make him
offend.
comfortable. It's
Yes, you don't want to
wild.
offend, and you
Yeah.
don't, a lot of women, and I think men too, we could put this on them as well, they get into a situation, and because they're really worried about the way they're going to offend somebody, they let it go further than they should.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And when really the boundary should just be put down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you push that guy's hand away straight away
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because it was instinct in you to do so. And it
Yeah.
should be instinct in everyone to do that for themselves in that moment. It should be no, that's it.
Yeah.
True.
It's
True.
just a
Yeah.
solid no.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there is still so much fear, and I think
Mm,
especially in women
Mm-hmm.
for really taking that place and really going into that power and into that rage and really
yes.
being that bold woman who says no and now get the fuck away from me,
Yes.
because it's still in the feminine DNA that when you make yourself visible or you speak out, then you end up on the stakes being burned at the wake.
Yes. Yes. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also
Very, very true.
doubt that that you doubt yourself. Is there really something wrong with me? Others don't have
Mhm.
a problem with that,
Yeah.
to see it's okay to be different and to have different kind of boundaries. Just because my colleague has no issue with that doesn't mean that I'm wrong when I feel, uncomfortable in this situation, and to
Yeah.
trust our feelings over the thoughts that we have how we should be. And I think this is a
Yes.
Yes.
learning curve, especially for young women. I saw myself so many times, that I was doubting myself, or can I now say something, or should I now say something, um, out of fear of being the weird one, but also fear of like, well, how is he going to react? If there's going to be aggression, I don't know if I can defend myself. And what you just pointed out, you just don't want to be visible in a way. You
Yeah.
just want to be
Yeah.
Yes.
normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why one of the patterns that I tend to go into when in an uncomfortable situation is to quiet myself, to become invisible instead of speaking louder or speaking, showing myself more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
There are a few, like, it's very strange, like I think there must be some kind of pattern to it, because depending on the situation that I'm in, I will get very loud or very uh strong in my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But in other terms, like if someone is making me uncomfortable in a romantic sense, or I don't want to say romantic because it's not romantic,
But in
but
that realm,
yeah,
Yeah,
in
the
Yeah.
in
realm of
Yeah.
pursuing
romance.
me romantically,
yes.
usually I will quiet myself and become invisible out of fear of being seen more.
Yeah.
But when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, someone hurting my feelings or hurting my friend's feelings, or um, just being an asshole, then in those situations, I'm more than happy to speak up, set boundaries, and tell them that what they're doing isn't okay. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's very weird how those things correlate, and or like why I react so differently when really at the end of the day they're very similar things in a
Well, you're
sense.
stepping up for, are you, it's like you're stepping up for your friends and you're stepping up when somebody's
Mhm.
overstepping a boundary
Yeah.
in the way that it's not to do with
I think
the
it's
feminine, maybe.
I think it's to do no, it is to do with the feminine still, but um not in any sexual romantic way.
Yeah, right.
Like when it's just trampling on femininity
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, doesn't matter about anything else if it's just a matter of sexism, for example, because that has also happened at work.
Yeah, of
Of course,
course.
of course.
Of
Yeah.
Yeah.
course.
Being a bartender, I'm telling you right now, so many stories, so
I
many
know.
to pull out at Christmas and everything.
It's a
Um,
Yeah.
microcosm of the
yeah,
world in a little bar like
like
that.
yeah, if
It
someone,
Yeah.
is.
I
Yeah.
It
can,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and I get really proud of myself because if a guy is being demeaning to me or um
Is it only men?
sex, yeah, well, I've personally never had another woman do that to me. I'm
Okay.
not saying it doesn't happen, I'm sure it does,
No,
but
just in your
in my
experience.
experience, I've never had that happen.
Yeah.
So when a man is being demeaning because I'm a woman and I can feel in my bone that's what's going on,
Mm.
Yeah.
watch out because I'm gonna be like,
Ah,
yeah.
The
And
lioness.
I really, truly, I do. There's no fear in me whatsoever because I know how to tackle this. I know how to deal with
Mm-hmm.
this
mhm.
problem. I know,
Yeah.
and I don't
So,
care what he thinks anyway because, you
Yeah.
know, I don't care about your opinion.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things about like if a guy is um talking to me off shift, like for example I've
trying to
sat at the bar,
chat you up.
yeah, wanting to buy me a drink, or if I'm
Yeah.
out with friends and someone walks up to me, then it's like, oh, I don't
When it
know
gets
what to do.
personal, when it gets personal, it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's so interesting, Juliet.
Yeah, like I really I just freeze and I just kind of give them the reins, and then when it makes me uncomfortable, I'll go to the bathroom and then I'll try and figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Um yeah, because
Without confronting them.
without confront, I mean, this
Hmm.
dude at work, it's I've been there for months at this point, and him singing songs to me and doing like
So weird.
he's just a weird person. He did this to me once, like he was holding up a heart and
Oh no.
just staring at me holding a heart like that. Like,
How
oh, just
cringy.
so cringy. I put up with it for like
But that's why he
months.
does it.
Yeah, but I've
Because
been ignoring him too, so I've
he's
never.
having fun.
Ignoring
Yeah,
doesn't work. Ignoring doesn't work. You
Yeah.
have
yeah,
to
it
be clear.
doesn't.
You have to be
Yeah.
really clear with these kind of people to really say what you want. Because again, just because we're so sensitive and we feel everything, you feeling, that the woman with the zipper didn't feel comfortable anymore, it doesn't mean that everybody else is going to feeling this.
True.
Yeah,
So we have to, and I know it's scary, I know it personally too, but to really be brave enough and speak up for ourselves and say, listen, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want that
Mm,
anymore. And if you don't stop, I have to talk to my boss because I cannot work like this.
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Like
yeah,
really
I think
clear, like
that's what
really
I
eight,
think.
1 + 1.
Yes. And I think that's why this is happening too, because it's giving you an opportunity to do that for yourself.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, every single week there's opportunities for me to
Yeah,
speak
to
up in
learn.
this context more and more as I become more embodied as well, and just multiple times a week there's always opportunities for me to speak up in this particular context, but
Yeah.
it really, I don't know what it is, but it just freaks me out. I think just my experience with guys in general a lot of the time has been very, like, it's been very
Unsafe.
unsafe.
Is that the word?
Yeah, honestly it has, and I laugh, but it really has, like during school, or like just bullied by every
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, every masculine figure. Honestly, I didn't have any guy friends in school.
Did the
My
boys bully you?
yeah, like
How come I
my
don't know this?
Should know
I
that
told
She's
you.
getting
really.
angry.
No,
She's
but
getting pissed.
I have never heard you say every boy in school
Well,
bullied me.
no, every boy, but like any
Many.
boy that I
Good
talked
boys.
to, it was them teasing me.
Yeah.
Also because I'm a very reactive person,
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
just like I would let it get to me, and so
Mm-hmm.
it would add fuel to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, just like I could list off basically almost all of I don't want to say that. A lot of experiences with men have been quite uncomfortable, or just led to a place where made me feel unsafe in some way. And so
This is interesting.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's why I know I create that. So and not putting myself to blame. I'm not saying that, but just like
And there's
Co-creation, I would
something
say.
attracting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something
yeah,
attracting it.
because it happens a lot, and it never surprises me anymore. So
Yeah.
if that's anything to say
Mm.
about that, yeah.
And you work in a bar.
And I work in a bar.
Yeah,
Although,
it doesn't help.
yeah, well, the customers usually aren't the problem. It's usually like people
Colleague.
that come in. Well, yeah, it's usually like staff members or people that work at other bars that come
Mhm.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's usually that group of people. It's not usually just regular old
Yeah,
customers.
right.
So,
Regular customers. Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it has, because I also had a long time, I was afraid of boys and men, and I had these big blockages, and it was really about learning. This is also what we are co-creating now, Bas and I, is like we're having this Heroes Gamos Mystery School where it's all about the feminine and the masculine, and then the coming together to really build this bridge again between men and women, because I think on both
Mm,
ends is so much distrust, like
yes.
women are manipulative and they play and they just use their sexual energy to play with us and so on, and we women think they're emotionally not available and they're players, and they're
Mm,
all these
Dominant.
ideas that we and aggressive,
Yeah.
and whereas it is true for some, it's just not the truth, right? And it's
Yeah.
about
yes.
relearning this and like getting new proof for our brains also to see, oh, not every man is like that, it's just
Yeah.
some men,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they too are victims, of course, in some way or the other, because no man just wakes up and is aggressive. There's always a
Yeah.
Yeah.
reason for that, and
Yeah.
indoctrination, how they think they should be, and what we talked earlier about, to suppress the feelings, and no man can cry, and you don't show anything, and not to excuse their behavior, but to have an explanation for their behavior, so that
Mm,
Yeah.
we also can start to rethink and build this trust again into the masculine within ourselves and also on the outside, because I
yeah.
really know so well
Yeah.
that, and it was crazy with me, it was like I had this, actually my first real boyfriend that I had with 24, and I met him and I really felt there's something important between us, and then but I still felt this fear in a way, like towards him, and then I used to work with my kinesiologist, these people who can talk with your subconscious, and there was
Yeah.
a huge fear of everything masculine within me, and we've worked on that, and it was crazy, like in the same week that we worked on that, my ex kissed me the first time. It was like, okay, we're doing it. It's happening. It's like it was just such a beautiful thing to see how we have power. It's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
just all outside of us. We can
Yes.
shift it inside of us ourselves, and often it's in the subconscious. So we might need a little help to
Yeah. Yeah.
get there, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
it's not all out. It's also inside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
we definitely have control of it once we uh, um, are willing to look inside and say, okay, this is what's attracting this stuff in
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
life.
Mm.
Yeah.
And if I want to change my surroundings, I need to change whatever it is in me that's
Yeah.
attracting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, like I for everyone watching, I want to make it clear that I love the masculine
Yeah.
energy, and I
She
definitely
does.
don't believe that all men are like
Yeah.
negative or
Yeah, this is not a
dangerous, or
masculine
yeah,
bashing
I'm not
session.
bashing the masculine. Yeah, I truly do love the masculine energy, to the point where I have owned a lot of my own masculinity.
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
that's the part of myself that I've owned the most. So now it's time to own
Yeah.
the
Mm.
feminine.
Yeah.
The
But
goddess.
The
yeah, the
goddess.
Yes. The
goddess.
goddess.
Yeah, so I love men. I'm attracted to men as well. So, it's hard to escape that one. And I also have a lot of positive experiences with men too. So,
Mhm.
Well, I
it's not
think
all
tonight
negative.
we've talked quite a bit about that, the shadow side of it, and I
Mm.
think that's really important, and that's probably where you've gotten those experiences have come out in your stories because of the subject matter that we're talking
Yeah, and
about.
I think also like when I reject my own femininity, then what is going to
Yeah, so
happen?
true.
Like,
Good.
yeah, so there's no,
Do you feel like you've rejected your femininity?
I think, yeah, I think it's something, it's a big part of my life. I think that's why my hormones,
Is it a rejection
um,
or is it a fear? Or is it both, maybe?
I don't know. I think it's very deep. I don't, I'm kind of discovering it still.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, but
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
it's I chose to be a woman for a reason. And it's actually quite terrifying. Like I've always been very comfortable in my masculine energy. Like when I look back at my childhood self, I was very like very fearless in, and not saying that's a masculine thing, but like I just didn't care at all about what anyone thought of me, and there
Mhm.
was no feelings attached to
Yeah.
Wow.
how I presented myself other than this is what makes me feel good. I'm doing this. And there was nothing else. That was what was
Mhm.
happening. And I didn't care what anyone said or thought about it. It was just like, this is what I want to wear today. And I know it's crazy to society, but society is just not ready for someone like me. So they're going to have to get used to it.
I
And
wasn't
then,
ready either.
yeah. And then, yeah, and then I just kind of grew up, and I think that was when anxiety started to happen and
Yeah,
some
teenage years.
destructive things
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
my femininity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's when things started to change, and I started to care what people thought, and
Mm.
um, I don't know, it's just been a journey of, especially around physical anatomy as well, like female anatomy too. Like that's also another thing that I've had to deal with anxiety around and fear around. So I think it's fear, and it's also rejection as well, because feminine power is like huge. It's
Yeah.
Mhm.
so crazy, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so suppressed in society is because of how,
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
yeah, just because it's so powerful, and it's very confronting, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
yeah,
confronting for everyone.
I'm gonna
It
quickly
It
put
is.
my
It
is.
is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's confronting for everyone. And I think that that's why women were burnt at the stake,
Yeah.
because that people knew how powerful
Mhm.
the witch was.
Yeah.
That intuition side of women, that the connection to ourselves and the connection to nature. And
Yes.
I mean, our period's a 28-day cycle. The moon is a 28-day cycle. Like we're very, very natural, nurturing, you know, entities. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I think the feminine is to be revered.
yeah,
It's
Whoop,
very
whoop,
much,
whoop.
very much.
That's so true. No, this is the whole reason why this all happened. Why this the
Yeah.
being female was suppressed. I'm 100% sure of that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because if people find out that they actually have power, what then? Then all of a sudden we
Yes.
don't have like these power centers anymore. So we have to keep them busy. We have to suppress everything that has to do with this kind of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
So
men,
it's
I mean,
suppressed on so many levels. Oh, sorry.
no, you go, Bas. It's fine.
Yeah. It's um, it's suppressed on so many levels. While mostly still, when people think of femininity, they think of nurturing and soft and caretaking and demure and
Mm.
but everybody forgets that, for example, Kali, the goddess Kali, is also a part of the feminine, and she is all about death and destruction and raw. So this
ferocity.
this power in females is very much suppressed. And in man, the ability to feel and to be vulnerable and to be soft, and
Mm.
that feminine part is very much suppressed in man through this whole suppression culture that has been going on for ages and ages.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's also why Priska and I, why it is so dear to our hearts that we opened this Heroes Gamos Mystery School,
Mm.
because it's so important that we also are able to see each other in our pain and
Mm.
in the parts that have been suppressed by ourselves, but mainly by society, so that we can also understand each other, because lots of problems that are between men and women, when you really peel it off, are actually have the same source. And if we
Yes.
are able to take all these layers of the onions away and see, oh, actually, she is afraid for the exact same thing that I am afraid of, even though it looks slightly different, then we can also start understanding each other on a deeper level. And then we can start co creating with the sacred masculine and the sacred
Mm.
feminine, building up.
Yeah.
Yes. And that place in us where it's the destruction is, or the anger or whatever it is, that shadow side of us is directed out
Yeah.
or directed towards ourselves,
Yeah.
rather than directed to creating something or in a positive
Mm,
Mm.
essence. And I think that's what the masculine and the feminine, when they
Mm.
come together and they accept each other, and they see each other in that, in the shadow, and they can accept each other in the shadow, that energy is then transformed from
mm,
being a self-destructive energy or a destructive energy outside of
yeah,
themselves into something that is creative,
yeah,
Yeah.
because we
yeah,
need both, don't we? we
A
need
hundred
we
percent.
do.
we
Yeah,
need the power of the shadow and we need the power of the light to
yeah,
create.
It's the whole
Yeah,
alchemy part, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
need the wholeness of it. And if masculine and feminine comes together, no matter in which way the sacred third gets born, and that's what's
Yes.
so powerful about this.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
we kind of can overcome duality in this kind of way
mm.
by bringing it together, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, high five to you guys.
Ew. Well, high five to you guys who are still being awake here with us.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think it's going to be an all-nighter for me.
Oh no,
I'm
not
not
for me.
sure, but we'll see. I am so honored to have had this
Yes.
conversation,
Yeah.
and it's my pleasure to have been awake for it.
Yes,
So,
so
Wow.
important. So
Thank you.
important, this conversation, and I love the work that you guys are doing. It's so important to the energy of the world.
yeah,
And thank you for that. Really
yeah.
appreciate.
Thank you
Thank you
so,
very
so much
much.
for
Yeah,
everything, for your love, and
yeah.
for sharing the bartender chronicles. I
Yeah.
would love to hear. Love
There
it.
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
more.
there'll be more
There'll
to
be
come.
more.
Brilliant.
You have to
Love
write
it.
a book. There was this lady who had been a nanny for rich people, and then she
Ah,
turned her experiences into a book.
Yeah,
You can do
There
that
you
too.
go. I've been wanting to write a book recently, actually. So there you go,
Yeah,
right
there you
there.
go.
Yeah,
There you
I've
go.
got some stories.
and
yeah,
you
You
should,
do
yes,
have
because
some
yeah.
stories.
you're young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I feel complete.
Yes.
Do you
Thank you,
guys
Yeah.
feel
guys.
Thank
complete?
you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Yes, yes, it was an
Yes.
honor. And sleep well, Claudia and
Yes.
Juliet. I don't know what you're going to do.
I will,
We'll figure it
Yeah,
out. Well, thank you
so much
everyone
love.
for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Okay. Here we go.
bye bye.